Transgender activist and educationalist Landa Mabenge recently published his debut book titled Becoming Him, a trans memoir of triumph. In the offering, Landa takes us on his life journey from growing up in an abusive household to realizing that he was born in the wrong body and to eventually going on to transition into manhood. Landa joins us now in studio to help us unpack his read. It's great to have you on Morning Live. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Why did you decide to share your journey of becoming the trans man that you are?
So I've always wanted to tell my story, but the motivation behind actually putting it onto paper and actually getting it published is because I realized I have had a great experience in terms of my transition. And I realized that you don't get to have such amazing privilege, access and family support and love, and not use it to serve others. So I made the decision to tell the story so that in doing so, I could help others who are in need, who don't know what's going on with their bodies, who don't know what being transgender means, and hopefully they can then take those lessons that I share in the book and use them as a resource to get access and begin their journeys.
You start the book off documenting just what it was like for you in your early life growing up in an abusive household. What kind of impact did that abuse have in shaping who you've become?
Look, for the longest time, I felt that I did not have a purpose in life. I felt that I would not amount to anything because those are things that I was told growing up by the mother. I felt that I was destined to fail. So for the longest time, I was depressed. I mean, I started being depressed at the age of 11 years. And I didn't think that anything would come of my life, so I needed to go through intensive therapy, and I mean I document that in the book as well, over a couple of years, for me to actually realize that what happened during my childhood is not a reflection of where my destiny lies. So it had a very, very big impact, but I had to work it and work on myself and work with myself in terms of unlearning certain things and also just embracing me for who I am.
You talk about how the body that you were born in did not align with who you are. And I mean, at as young as 7 years old, you already started to feel like something wasn't quite right with you. How did your 7-year-old mind grasp
that.
The differences that you felt?
So, I mean, as a child, you get socialized into specific roles because we are assigned gender at birth, and we're socialized to become what everyone else wants you to.
Wear pink, boys wear blue.
I mean, we have gender reveal, you know, it's crazy. But I think at that age, it was from a naive space and a space where I was just happy within, but I didn't understand why the outer didn't reflect that. Because we're growing in a household with a lot of grandchildren, boys and girls, or assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't just be like the other boys, you know? I remember as young as about 7, 8, I used to battle with the idea that I can't stand and pee, like my cousins and everyone else. So I think it was that I couldn't understand. But because I was in a loving space, I mean, my maternal family is my heart. I was happy. They allowed me certain liberties, and I never felt depressed over that. It was just, I couldn't understand what was going on. It didn't make sense to me.
Indeed. Let's talk about just the journey, what it was like for you. I mean, you've had traumatic experiences. You've had moments where you self-doubted. You weren't sure what was happening with your body. There were suicide attempts as well in the process, and a woman who became almost like a savior. Tell us about that relationship.
Schreiber. Yo, I adore Birgit. She literally saved my life. I mean, I took a chance with going to therapy because especially in our communities, it's frowned upon. You don't go and talk about your home issues or your domestic issues with strangers. But meeting Birgit, I think it was her ability to see within me and see my pain. And so she begs me to try. Because the first time I talk about my experience with the parents in PE, she stops me and she says, but you're narrating this. I don't understand how you feel. How do you feel? And so we begin that journey. And even during that journey, the suicide attempt, ending up at Kenworth Clinic for like a period of 2 weeks and then being booked off UCT for 6 months. She keeps in contact with me. She literally walked through my pain with me, and she helped me to get to a better space in terms of healing and letting go of those traumas from PE. And I mean, we're still very good friends up until now. And it was a very dark space in my life. But I always say, yes, perhaps I had to go through it. I don't think that we need trauma as a basis for greatness. I don't believe that that's the script that we should be given and told in life.
It's always the same, rags to riches.
Yeah, right. It's we've become conditioned to believe that the only way you emerge is by going through darkness. I don't believe that, number one. But I feel it would have probably altered a lot about who I am, and having grown to love myself, fall in love with myself, embrace myself, see myself, and receive myself, I probably wouldn't change anything about my journey.
Oh, there's so much more I still wanted to talk to you about. What a great chat. Thank you so much for coming through, and well done on the book.
Thank you for having me.
Phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
That was author Landa Mabenge speaking to us about his debut book that he titled Becoming Him, a Trans Memoir of Triumph. And of course, he describes this experience as having been awesome. The book is, of course, available at major bookstores around the country and on online bookshops. Well, you can also send us some of the books that you are reading or have read, and by doing that you can find yourself here live in studio for our Sunday book review feature, just to talk about some of your favorite books. All you have to do is drop us an email, send us a post on Instagram, tweet us a picture and a relevant caption of your pick of the week must read for 2018, your current read, and the one you were hoping was going to be great but perhaps turned out to be rather disappointing. Use our social media platforms at Morning Live SABC. That's where you can find us on Twitter as well as Facebook. We are also on Instagram, but you're more than welcome to drop us an email, as I mentioned. It is morninglive@sabc.co.za. Time for a quick break.